Thanks for tuning in to this week's news recap. Revelation of Hinman documents sparks Ripple's call for probe. As mentioned during the show, former SEC Director of Corporation Finance William Hinman's emails about the status of Ether as a security or non-security were revealed this week. Ripple has now initiated calls for a renewed probe into Hinman following the exposure of these documents tied to the ongoing SEC lawsuit against Ripple. Ripple's chief legal officer, Stuart Alderoty, stated, quote, "An investigation must be conducted to understand what or who influenced Hinman." The document suggests that Hinman planned a conversation with Ethereum co-founder Vitalik Buterin to better comprehend the workings of the Ethereum Foundation, a point that further fuels Ripple's push for a new investigation. This discussion aimed to underpin Hinman's opinion that ETH wasn't a security. Gabriel Shapiro, general counsel at Delphi Labs, tweeted, quote, "We need Congress to step up and create a clear, reasonable, easily navigated set of fit-for-purpose rules for crypto." Background of Promethium founder prompts questions. Promethium, a previously under-the-radar firm, made headlines in the crypto universe after co-founder Aaron Kaplan's testimony before a U.S. House committee. Kaplan, mirroring the SEC's perspective, advocated for current securities laws to govern the crypto world. At the committee meeting, Kaplan stood up for the SEC's governing structure, suggesting that existing regulations provide, quote, "a compliant path forward for crypto in the U.S." He sharply criticized those platforms that don't comply with these laws, labeling them as, quote, "reckless and unlawful." In an interview with Unchained, he stated, quote, "Crypto exchanges argue that there's a lack of regulatory clarity because they're literally best served by the lack of regulatory clarity." Some people in the crypto community are claiming Promethium's past isn't squeaky clean. For instance, it's been revealed that the firm has paid over $1.5 million in sales commissions to a company with numerous regulatory infractions. In fact, it was involved in the Long Island iced tea company that pivoted to Long blockchain and was the subject of an SEC enforcement action. Also, the credentials of two Promethium officers have come under scrutiny as their law school lost its accreditation. Adam Cochran, partner at Cinemaine Ventures, has speculated about Promethium strategies, highlighting that the company's website features tokens that were named as securities in the SEC lawsuits against Binance and Coinbase, potentially suggesting that Promethium had some foreknowledge of which tokens would be labeled as securities. Cochran suggests that Promethium may be getting a regulatory break, manipulating its regulatory connections, or even running a dubious scheme. In response to the revelations, the Blockchain Association submitted a Freedom of Information Act request to the SEC, seeking details about the crypto broker. SEC versus Coinbase, a 120-day countdown begins. In the latest update on the legal battle between the SEC and Coinbase, the agency has requested more time to respond to Coinbase's petition for clarity on digital asset industry rules. Despite Coinbase's push for a court-mandated response, the SEC said that the breadth of the rulemaking petition, filed just months ago and recently supplemented by Coinbase, needs a thorough review. The SEC anticipates that staff will be able to give a recommendation to the agency on the petition within the next 120 days, with a status report to follow. Coinbase Chief Legal Officer Paul Graywall tweeted, quote, "They ignore the clear statements of the chair that confirm that they have no intent to issue new rules. FTX's customer confidentiality upheld amid legal turmoil." U.S. bankruptcy judge John Dorsey has allowed collapsed crypto exchange FTX to permanently redact customer names from bankruptcy-related court documents. This decision concludes a lengthy dispute between FTX's bankruptcy estate and external parties, including media outlets and government lawyers, who sought access to the customer list. Judge Dorsey emphasized customer protection, stating, quote, "We want to make sure that they are protected and they don't fall victim to any types of scams." The ruling supports FTX's argument that revealing customer names could harm the exchange's sale value. Moreover, the U.S. Department of Justice's case against Sam Bankman-Fried, former CEO of FTX, faced a key decision when the Bahamas Supreme Court ruled that Bankman-Fried could contest additional charges being added beyond the original 8 brought in December 2022. The additional charges center on wire fraud, securities fraud, money laundering, and conspiracy to defraud the Federal Elections Commission. The court's decision came after Bankman-Fried's defense team contested the inclusion of 5 additional charges, including bank fraud and bribery, arguing their inclusion violated the terms of extradition from the Bahamas. Thursday afternoon, Judge Lewis Kaplan agreed to allow prosecutors to charge him on those additional charges in a separate trial set for the spring of 2024. BlackRock files for Bitcoin ETF. BlackRock's iShares unit has submitted paperwork to the SEC to create a Bitcoin spot ETF. The proposed fund, named the iShares Bitcoin Trust, will primarily consist of Bitcoin held by Coinbase on behalf of the trust. Despite the SEC's history of rejecting similar ventures, many people are saying that BlackRock's prominent position in asset management and political influence could potentially sway the outcome. Uniswap announces new draft code with customizable liquidity pools. Uniswap, the largest decentralized crypto exchange by volume, released the draft code for its fourth version, introducing the concept of customizable liquidity pools. The new V4 will feature hooks, which are smart contracts that allow developers to create custom liquidity pools and introduce innovative features. These hooks will enable the creation of on-chain limit orders, automatic deposits to lending protocols, auto-compounded liquidity provider fees, and more. However, in the latest episode of The Chopping Block, Haseeb Qureshi, Robert Leshner, Tom Schmidt, and Tarun Chitra raised concerns that the implementation would bring problems around security and user experience. The release of the draft code is the first step toward launching Uniswap v4. The team plans to engage with the Uniswap community and iterate on the code base over time. The new version will be deployed once a consensus is reached on the final version. Don't miss next Tuesday's episode of Unchained with Uniswap founder Hayden Adams. North Korean hackers launder $100 million in stolen crypto. The North Korean hacking group Lazarus, known for its prolific cybercrime activities, has reportedly pocketed over $100 million in stolen crypto from the recent Atomic Wallet hack. Initially, the loss was estimated at $35 million, but the amount has nearly tripled, according to blockchain analytics firm Elliptic. The hackers have started laundering the stolen funds through Garantex, a crypto exchange sanctioned by the U.S. Treasury's Office of Foreign Assets Control, or OFAC. The stolen assets were traded for Bitcoin on Garantex, then laundered through the coin mixer Sinbad. Elliptic, which attributed the attack to the Lazarus Group, has been working with investigators and exchanges worldwide to trace and freeze the stolen funds. However, the effort has resulted in just $1 million in stolen assets being frozen so far. Despite the magnitude of the heist, Atomic Wallet has yet to provide an explanation to its customers. Bankruptcy surge sweeps industry. In the face of rising financial turmoil, Bank, a unit of crypto custodian Prime Trust, filed for bankruptcy, citing a deficit of $5.4 million against $17.7 million in assets. The company is wrestling with issues, including a contentious acquisition by BitGo and allegations of unauthorized asset transfers to Fortress NFT Group by former officers. Meanwhile, TrueUSD and South Korean firm Haru Invest, which have banking relationships with Prime Trust, also paused stablecoin mints and redemptions, saying it was due to Bank's internal struggles. Here's a recap of related bankruptcy news from this week. Crypto lender Genesis continues mediated discussions with parent company Digital Currency Group to determine paybacks. The latest negotiations indicate substantial agreement on key issues, but DCG and hedge fund Three Arrows Capital will likely not receive the full value of their claims. Bankrupt crypto lender Voyager Digital plans to reopen its app for initial distribution of funds to creditors, estimated at 35% of claims worth a collective $1.3 billion. According to bankruptcy plan administrator Paul Haig, Voyager may also permit withdrawals from June 20th to July 5th. The estate of bankrupt hedge fund 3AC petitioned a New York court to declare founder Kyle Davies in contempt for his noncompliance with a subpoena and proposed a $10,000 daily fine. Meanwhile, Celsius updated its bankruptcy plan after the Fahrenheit Consortium's successful bid for assets. However, the plan has met legal resistance from borrowers who claim it violates consumer lending laws. Lastly, the U.S. wing of Bittrex, another bankrupt crypto exchange, will commence customer withdrawals after gaining clearance from a Delaware court. The exchange had filed for bankruptcy in May amidst legal opposition from the U.S. government over millions in alleged sanctions violations. The CFTC earns a victory over Ooki DAO. In a groundbreaking decision, the decentralized autonomous organization, Ooki DAO, has been ordered to halt operations and pay a fine of over $643,000, marking a sweeping victory for the U.S. Commodity Futures Trading Commission. This outcome was determined by U.S. District Judge William Horrick, setting a legal precedent by holding a DAO liable for law violations. As the CFTC Division of Enforcement Director Ian McGinley emphasized, quote, "This decision should serve as a wake-up call to anyone who believes they can circumvent the law by adopting a DAO structure." The CFTC claimed Ooki DAO and its precursor, B0X, offered leveraged and margined retail commodity transactions outside of a registered exchange and didn't meet Bank Secrecy Act obligations. DAO members' personal liability could be on the table, according to Jason Civalleri, product counsel at Grayscale, stating that participation in a DAO could make members personally liable if the DAO does something illegal. USDT experiences a massive sell-off. Unusual trading activity was detected in the liquidity pools of major DeFi protocols Uniswap and Curve, as millions of dollars worth of the stablecoin USDT is being aggressively sold off. In Curve's 3 pool, a liquidity pool for stablecoin exchanges, USDT made up a whopping 73% of the total pool, a surge only paralleled twice in the past 2 years. Research analyst Dan Smith raised concerns about Tether, the firm behind USDT, being forced to redeem the stablecoin, saying, quote, "Bad time to be testing Tether." On the other hand, Paolo Arduino, CTO of Tether, responded confidently, tweeting, quote, "We're ready to redeem any amount." Curve Finance founder faces lawsuit. Curve Finance founder Michael Egorov is entrenched in legal turmoil as 3 venture capital firms, Perify Capital, Framework Ventures, and 1KX, filed lawsuits against him in the U.S. The ongoing legal battle stems from claims of misappropriated trade secrets and an alleged breach of contract involving a near $1 million investment in Curve. The firms claim that Egorov used their investments for purposes other than agreed upon, specifically the funding of Curve's liquidity pools. Egorov responded, stating that the U.S. lawsuit is simply an attempt to leverage the country's unfavorable crypto climate following a lack of success in the Swiss proceedings. Time for fun bits. We've all heard it. The SEC is coming after crypto, but are they? Ginny Hogan from Unchained gives the scoop.
Okay, you've all heard it. The SEC is coming for crypto, except it's the government, so are they actually coming, or are they going to put a line in the budget to put together a commission to decide whether or not it makes sense to come for crypto in the next several decades? No, this time they're actually coming. SEC Chair Gary Gensler is determined to tame what he calls the Wild West of crypto, which honestly makes it sound way cooler than it is. If you've ever dated a crypto bro, you know that insecurity plays a big role in their lives, and that is in many ways what this fight is about. Gensler believes most cryptocurrencies are securities and should be regulated as such. His current targets are Coinbase and Binance, and while it is stressful, the good news is that the Coinbase CEO Brian Armstrong is not at risk of losing any hair from the stress. Others say that the lawsuits could compel crypto companies to move overseas, and honestly, if that happened, I would be so grateful that I might start once again right-swiping on lawyers.
Thanks so much for joining us today. To learn more about Commissioner Hester Peirce and the SEC's regulation of crypto, check out the show notes for this episode. Unchained is produced by me, Laura Shin, with help from Kevin Fuchs, Matt Pilchard, Zach Seward, Juan Aranovich, Sam Sriram, Ginny Hogan, Jeff Benson, Leandro Camino, Pema Jamdar, Shashank, and Margaret Correa. Thanks for listening.